So hello and welcome to Dommy Tries This. I hope you brought your cuppa. Today's coffee mug is the Mom I Heart You coffee mug that I got from my granddaughter for Mother's Day this year. Today's tea is actually a little different. It's not a hot tea. Our temperatures are we're in the mid-90s today. And our cooler is barely managing it in our apartment. So I'm going to go with a cold tea. This is a cold tea that I make for myself. I have two versions of it. And so here's the recipe in case you're interested. It's light on the sugar. I only use probably about a half cup of sugar for a 1 gallon jug. And I basically steep the tea bags of my choice for about, I don't know, half an hour or more. I tend to use celestial, not, I want to say seasonings, but it's, their tea, their raspberry zinger, their mixed berry, or now I'm also using, they have a lemon one. And I use 2 bags of that. I use 2 bags of green tea, 2 bags of mint tea, and every now and then I will put in a citrus green tea. And I let that steep with the sugar. I heat the water up with the sugar, and then I let that all steep for a little bit. And then I add, in the jug, I either put a half cup of lemon juice. I haven't done that one in a while, but I do enjoy that one. Or I put in between 2 to 4 cups of my choice of cranberry juice, which would be the cran blackberry, the cran cherry, or the cran raspberry, or the cran pomegranate. The cran cherry comes out a little odd sometimes, so I don't always use that one. So I put that in, and I put my steeped tea in, and then I add water, put it in the fridge. It's great. It's very, very refreshing, and low on the sugar, usually, mostly, and I really, really enjoy it. So we're going to give this a sip, and then we're going to go ahead and get started so I can stop mumbling around the way I normally do. Tell you, my kids don't like this. There's not enough sweet in here, but I love it. I love it. So today we are doing our last Whole and Healthy Wednesday, and we will get into the reason for that. However, first we are going to have to talk about our old and new. Our old stuff is primarily face products, so that would include the NYX Sweet Cheeks. I'm going to use this for blush, the NYX Strobe Genius for my highlighter. I also have my Zuri Flawless Pressed Powder Foundation. I use this for my contour. I also have for old the Lorac Shine Bright palette. As you all know, I use this for a 1 month palette, so we're going to be getting back into that. This has a few colors I want to use for today's look. But everything else is along the new end. That includes this Rodeo Glam Lash mascara that we got in our Mother's Day glossy box. I also just recently received from Ipsy this Inmo. I can't even remember anymore. Yes, Inmo eyeshadow. It's the last thing I actually really need to review on my Ipsy, so I'm going to use that today. And for the rest of it, for my new, because that's new, and the rest of it for my new is I'm going to play with my Clionadh Cosmetics Ultra Metallics today. So that's what we're going to get into. And you will note below that it says, are you a vampire? So one of the things I'm going to do today, I'm actually not really going to be talking about health and weight and all of that stuff today. We're just going to do a few fun questions, and I'm going to answer them. I have written them down, but I've not really thought about them that much. So as usual, I've already taken care of my face. I've put on my I've used my e.l.f. priming mist. I like this in the summer because my face is so sensitive. I have more issues in the summer. I can spray this on and pat it in. I don't have to rub it in the way I do with any other primer. So let's go ahead and get started with this Lorac. We are going to grab some of this Primrose right here and put that under our brow. For starters. So the first question I have is, are you a vampire? And I really wanted to make these questions kind of fun. So this is in response to a lot of people who have seen me on Facebook who have said that you keep looking younger and younger. So are you a vampire? Well, no, obviously. But I've been starting to take better care of myself and my skin. And when I first started, I had a lot of discoloration. I had a lot of texture under my eyes. I still got some big pores around my nose, but I've noticed that a number of them have cleared up a lot better than they were before. And I'm going to use a little bit of this Inmo Velveteen Dream eyeshadow. I'm going to put that a little bit over that matte. I'm going to start with seeing how it works over this matte. I didn't want anything too shiny under the brow. But anyway, so when I had my issues, okay, we're getting a little bit of a sheen. That's what I wanted. When I had my issues last summer, it was not fun at all, and I had to use a lot of vinegar and stuff like that, which is very harsh. So I made sure to also use healing type creams and stuff like that to help keep from getting any damage under my eyes and in any other places. I highly swear by the Klairs Freshly Juiced Vitamin E Mask. I use it as a serum. I honestly think that that saved my skin. I don't do a big routine in the morning. I wash my face, and then, I shouldn't say I wash my face. I wash my face, but it's just with water. I just get a warm rag, not even hot. I don't want to open up my pores too much in the morning. I get a warm rag. I wash off my face, and then I go into a light skincare routine, especially right now for the summer where it's just too hot to have a lot of heavy stuff on my face. So right now, I'm only using the Klairs at night. In the winter, I use it in the morning and at night. For the redness that I had around my nose and around my cheeks, which is where I've had the biggest issues with discoloration, I have used, I was using a Derma E. They have one that's for redness, and it's in a green jar, and I can't remember the exact name of the moisturizer, but I highly recommend it because it's done an amazing job. For the lines and stuff underneath, I have been using the Cetaphil eye cream. I also now have one from Mario Badescu, and I will have to list that down below, but those have both helped with my dark circles and my lines underneath my eyes. Basically, I just take care of my skin, and I wasn't doing that before. Like, I started like 2 or 3 years ago, I guess. So I suppose at some point it can be too late, but for me it wasn't, and that's why I look so different in terms of looking younger now, even though I'm 2 to 3 years older than when I started, because I wasn't really taking care of my skin before. So if you haven't been taking care of your skin, take heart if you start. You may not be able to take care of as much as I have, but I don't think I had a huge lot of problems when I first started. Okay, so I am going to get into these ultra metallics. We're going to start with a semi-fluffy brush and see how they do. I am going to use this on the inner part of my lid and this on the outer part of my lid. So we're going to use this light blue. I don't remember the names of them, but this is the whole ultra metallic set from Cleona. It's beautiful. And I've played around with them a little bit, but not a lot. I'm having to pack just a little bit, but I think that's because of my eyes. The one spot that I've had issues with trying to fix is my lid. I still have the spot in the center of in the inner corner of my eye where eyeshadow evaporates. I still have some creasing on my lid, and I have problems there, and I have not figured out how to get rid of that. I've just figured out how to minimize it. So our next question is, do you give sugar kisses with them lips? I've had a lot of comments on how I do my lipstick, almost all in a good way. I don't recall any bad comments. Basically, there's a couple different things that I do to help give myself a nice defined lip. And the first thing is I will usually outline my lip with a yellow color corrector or a lighter colored concealer. I make sure to blend it out really well around my lips. It helps to, I have noticed that that really helps to make the, when you apply the lipstick, it doesn't help so much to give the sharp defined line, which is I do something else for, but it does help to make them more emphasized in a way. So that's my first trick, and that's one of the few tricks I have from when I was a kid. Makeup has changed a lot since then. So I actually don't do much else since I was a kid. All right, dipping into that darker color, I am going to still use the same brush. I find that it helps with the mixing. I don't think that's going to do that with these. And we're going to do the outside. So these colors, these two colors are very, very similar on the eye, at least on my eye. The one is kind of light and the other one has more of a grayish cast to it, I think. Anyway, so that's the first trick. Just take a little bit. You don't want to use a lot, just a small amount, and go around your entire lip line and then blend it out. You don't want to blend it out too far. It doesn't help if you're blending it all the way up to your nose or whatever. So if you put too much, blend into the lips themselves. I've also found that putting a concealer or using my foundation, I have to use concealer in the summer because I use powder foundations in the summer, but in the winter I can use my liquid foundation. I have also found using that over my lips, if you look, my upper lip is darker than my top, and that can affect how your lipstick looks. So I put foundation over my lips to even out that color, or like I said, in the summer when it's hot and I'm using powders, including powder concealer and stuff, I put liquid concealer over my lips. And I blend that in over that. It's much like what you would do for your under eyes where you're trying to hide the discoloration. It's similar to that. It's basically trying to even out the tone, the two mixed tones that I have. So that's the second thing that I do. And the third thing that I do is I use a lip pencil. And I know a lot of people say, well, I don't like using lip pencils. I don't use a lip pencil. And I can understand that. However, I have found that lip pencils, I don't use them for color, unless they're the big fat ones that are specifically for color. I use them primarily to define the line around the lips, to make sure that I've got my points and all of that stuff in place. So that's how I get the defined lips that I do. The only area that I still have an issue with, I don't even know if you guys are going to be able to see it. I have a little bump underneath here where the shape of my mouth is just a little bit different. And I find that if I overline and I try to cover that up, it becomes more obvious. But if I just go inside where I would normally line, it makes the bottom part of my lip look a little blurry, if that makes sense. And that's the only spot I really have an issue with, though, and I haven't figured out how to fix that one. So next I'm going to use this color Atlantis. Now, this is sort of a bluey green in the pan. It comes up a bit more green on the eye, but that's going to be fine. But we're going to use this color to do my usual wingtip and stuff that I do. So the next question I have is, why stardust and rainbows? So why do I like shimmers and glitters over mattes, and why am I into so much color? Well, most mattes I have found look very dull on my skin. That's beautiful. A lot of them, for some reason, even some of the really good ones, when I put them over my lid, you can still see my lid color sort of poking through. They're not very opaque. They're more translucent on my skin for some reason. I need very good mattes that don't do that to use them. And I think that, I'm not saying it's wrong because I know some people love it, but for me, a matte look is very dull. I like shiny, and I like the shinier colors. This is really blue. It's going to need some taming, I think. I'm going to take a detail brush and take this color Azure and deepen up my crease. We need to do something else underneath, I think, though. I like satins more than I like mattes. I actually like satins and shimmers more than mattes or glitters. I do like glitters. I find that for most of them, they're for more like special occasions like Christmas and stuff like that. I mean, I do wear them at other times. I'm just saying that I don't normally do an entire eye of glitter. I will do an entire eye of shimmers. This is almost an entire eye of shimmer. But mattes are just really, like I said, they just come out kind of flat to me. And they don't seem to work very well on my skin for the most part. Okay, going to take my blending and blend this out. As for the colors, I honestly started off with less colorful looks. I was doing a lot of neutral looks when I first got back into makeup a couple of years ago. A couple of years ago. It's a long time ago, guys. And I liked it, but at the same time, it just didn't feel like me. And it didn't, I don't think they really helped enhance anything. Now, this is something that's a little dark for wearing out anywhere, but I much prefer having some color, some kind of color in the mix. We are going to take these two purples next and put them under the eye. We're going to put this lighter one on the inner part and the darker one on the outer part. And a lot of people have noted too that I tend to go heavy on my makeup. Well, that's because I wear glasses that hide my eyes and make them look smaller. If I actually ever did get contacts again, I had contacts once ages and ages and ages ago. But if I ever did get contacts again, I'm not sure how well I would do on the makeup thing, because I think I would have to readjust a little bit. Okay, that purple isn't really showing up. I mean, it's there, but it's so light. Which, I mean, yeah, you know, it's light. All right, let's try the darker one. Go across. So if I got contacts, I'd probably have to learn to use a slightly lighter hand. But as long as I have glasses, that's not likely to be a thing for me. I've had people complain that I do too much makeup. That it's too heavy, it's too dark, it's too this, it's whatever. You know what? This is for me. And I enjoy what I do, and I like the way it makes me look. And this purple is pretty. It's light but pretty. It's coming up lighter than it is in the pan, but purples do that, I've noticed. As long as I'm wearing glasses that make my eyes look smaller and are so thick that they hide my eyes and all that stuff, I will probably continue to do heavier makeup. Because what's the point in it if you can't see anything? So that is my rainbows and stardust. I have found some good mats. The mats in this Lorac palette are really nice. They really, really are. The Tarte mats were the first mats I ever actually liked. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the channel. And my first question is, are you like Jon Snow and know nothing? I have to say, when I first started this channel, I was definitely not aware of a lot of things. And one of those is the cost, and the other one is the time elements. Taking my CoverGirl light concealer, cleaning up. I guess the biggest one right now, the biggest one overall, is the cost. You don't qualify for any help until you hit 1,000 subscribers. And the beauty community on YouTube is highly, highly oversaturated. I have this curl that wants to be in the way. Move, baby. So it is very hard to get to 1,000 subscribers for some of us that aren't young and don't have the really bright personalities and all of that stuff. I did try to do the things that people said to do and tried to come up with some things that were unique to me, like the whole opening with the tea and talking about the tea. That's something that I enjoy and you don't see in other beauty community videos. That is, you know, one of my unique things. I do branch out from beauty. Unless you have something that is really unique and a really bright personality, and you're in the younger set, it is really hard to get get traction on YouTube. I'm not saying don't do it for those reasons. If you want to do YouTube, just have to make sure that when you get started, it's for you, which is what I did. I did it initially to give me something creative to do. I do, you notice I've had, with the Whole and Healthy Wednesday in particular, I do research. When I do my reviews, I make sure that I have used things for a longer period of time, because I have noticed that quite a few people say, yeah, I'll get back to you on how well this worked, and then you never hear anything about that product. And that's one of the reasons why, even though I do a lot of similar things like the unboxings, we have a lot of unboxing channels, and that's because unboxings are easy. So even though I do those similar things, I also make sure to do the reviews, because nobody ever talks about stuff in review. They say they're going to come back about it, and then you never hear about that product again. I'm not complaining, well, I'm sort of complaining about it, but I mean, it's just what it is. I'm an older woman. There are not a lot of older women on YouTube. The YouTube generation is getting older, but I'm already there. So for a lot of them, I'm just not interesting enough. I don't have the right personality or whatever. I try to share a lot of information, but I'm not Jen Loves Reviews. I don't do a huge amount of research unless it's something that affects me personally, you know, like with the hair care. I have to look into things to make sure I'm taking care of my hair. But I couldn't tell you the ingredients of eyeshadow palette or this concealer I'm blending out. I couldn't tell you what's good or bad about any of those. I just know what works for me and what doesn't. So that's the first thing, was that the cost and getting it to grow, I didn't realize was going to be so hard. And I didn't think I would get quite so as invested as I would. But some of you guys just made me love it even more. I can feel this. I'm not quite dry. And I really do enjoy it. But it does get expensive, because to keep up, to continue to be interesting, you have to have newer products. And like I said, there's a whole lot of unboxings, so people can go almost anywhere and get at least a first impression review of stuff that we get into the we get in our subscription boxes. So I still had to do something a little different, which is why I've started focusing on indie brands. I know there's a few indie things out few indie channels out there. I'd have to look them up. But I'm kind of doing that mix, but I really did want to focus on the indie brands. But because I've not grown and indie brands are small, I still have to pay for my own product. So that was the first thing that I didn't realize, was that it is expensive, and especially if you're going to do more than 2 videos a week, because you have to have the product to cover that. I'm getting a little bit more discerning on product now. Again, it has to do with money, but it also has to do with having so much. And that's the other thing I didn't even think about. And if I had thought about it, and I would have realized you collect a lot of stuff. And if I were getting PR from someplace, I'd even be collecting more stuff. It'd be kind of scary. Yeah, that's the other thing, is you're going to end up having to spend a lot just to keep having enough product to be interesting and to be preferably on new stuff, which is going to get a little harder for me because I really got to cut back. I keep saying that and I don't do it, but I really got to cut back. And then you end up with a lot of stuff and you're trying to use it, but because you have to keep up on the channel, you're not using it as much as you would as, say, if you weren't doing a channel. So that's 2 things I didn't really think. Well, one of them I didn't know and the other one I didn't think about. The other one that I didn't really know or think about was the time. We're going to spray a little setting spray across here just to hopefully help keep the eyeshadow in place. It helps a little bit, not a lot. Anyway, so the other one is time. I didn't think about the amount of time that has to go into, I'm trying to dry it, and about the amount of time that has to go into this, because you're not only just talking about filming, you're also talking about the editing and the promoting, and all of that takes time. So these videos, the Whole and Healthy Wednesday and the 1 month palette videos, can end up being anywhere from 45 minutes to over an hour long, and I have to edit that down to somewhere between 25, and the most I like to go is somewhere around 40. A few of them I can't seem to get that low, but that's about the most that I need to make it. And it takes, well, first you have to get through the whole video, so there's 45 minutes or so of your time just going through the video to find the spots you have to cut out, and then you have to run through it again and check to see if you can trim it or if it's okay. You have to make sure all your cuts work to some degree, and then you have to save it. And then on my particular computer with the stuff that I have, the saving takes some time, and then you have to do the uploading and all of that. So one video can take let's say an hour to film, at least an hour and a half to edit, somewhere between 30 minutes and an hour to save, and then I think they take, depending on the size when I end up, it's usually less, but I figure 30 seconds to 2 minutes for uploading. And then of course there's all the research I do to put into the information box, the description box. I have to find links, I have to find prices, I have to cut them down, I have to put them in, I have to put in the tags, I have to put in, I'm not complaining about it, I'm just saying that it's a lot of time. It takes a lot of time. Just finding the links and stuff can take me an hour. Doing a search for that can take me an hour if I have 5 products. I mean, you got to find it, you got to shorten the link so that it'll stay in the box because you've got a limited part on the box. So it takes a lot of time, and when you're doing 2 to 3 and you don't have a life like me, it's not that big a deal. But I am finding that 4 or 5 videos, that's a lot of times. And you do want to have stuff sort of backed up in case you get sick, in case something happens to a video. Like a couple weeks ago, y'all remember I had a Whole and Healthy Wednesday video go south, and I ended up having to upload something else. If I didn't have extra stuff done, I wouldn't have had anything to upload to cover that. So you're trying to set up this regular schedule, so you have to try to set up a regular schedule. I'm not one of the channels that can be hit or miss. So where are we going now with the channel. So this is my Royal and Langnickel Powder BMD 100. I use this for my powder foundation. Most of the content is going to stay the same. We're still going to do we're going to do our Ipsy battles, at least for now. Still unboxing BoxyCharm, at least for now. It might be a month or two before we get a round robin box, just because of the cost, and there's some other things that I really, really do need to take care of. I need to figure out how to take care of my glasses and things like that. So I have a few extra costs that I have to start looking at right now. One thing I like about powder foundation is that it is so easy to apply, and I don't have to worry about it turning most of my hair a different color. Whereas when I use a liquid foundation, it gets in my hair and my hair turns the color of the foundation. And you can still get a really nice finish with powder, depending on the powder. You don't want a chunky powder. So we're still doing all of that. The Whole and Healthy Wednesdays. This is the last Whole and Healthy Wednesday, for now at least. I'm going to be dropping back down to 3 days a week. Like I said, there's just too much time involved. I am now using my concealer, my powder concealer in light. And I'm using my Ipsy. This is my Look-See Good Night brush, Harley Quinn brush. I knew it was, honest. So those are the two biggest changes, and the reason that, and honestly the only reason that the Whole and Healthy Wednesday is going, well, there's two, but it's primarily because we are looking at dropping down the number of videos per week, and also we are been sort of running out of topics, and it's just time to move on, I think. These are my least viewed videos, and that's one thing that you have to watch as a YouTuber. If something's not getting views, you have to rethink what you're doing and either reinvent it or move on. And so we're just going to move on. I've enjoyed talking to you guys. I've enjoyed doing the research. In fact, there was another article that I just found today that I really, really liked, that I would be sharing with you if we were doing this. I'll go ahead and link it down below anyway. Some of you guys might be interested. But in general, these are my lowest viewed, and I got rid of one of my higher view videos. I'd like to go back to it, and that's the curl box, but that has to do with space, as in I have none. I am trying to refocus the channel a little bit. Like I said, I am working on the indie brands. I am going to keep with my reviews that I honestly don't see very many other channels doing. I think that being a smaller channel right now is one of the things that's helping me be able to do the kinds of things that I do in terms of actually reviewing the products. Yeah, we're going to go to 3 days a week. Trying to keep the few sub boxes I have right now, the tea, the Ipsy and Boxy. I would like to add another one, but at this point I can't do it. So we're going to keep with the round robin for the moment, and that's just going to have to probably hold off for a little bit. I probably won't get another round robin box until fall, but we'll see. You never know. Sometimes you get these deals where they'll say, yes, sign up today and just pay shipping for your first box. Of course, sometimes that's bullshit, like the Focal one was. But sometimes you get good deals that make it so that it's possible for me to go ahead and get another box. But in general, we're just going to have to do mini hauls and things like that for a little while until things are a little easier around here. And the other thing, like I said, is the time. It's just a lot of time, especially for something that I'm not even getting a small amount of AdSense on. If I were at 1,000 and getting AdSense, I could justify putting, I mean, my understanding is the AdSense isn't a whole lot of money, but I could justify doing 4 videos a week on that. Not getting anything, I can't right now. It's just, I have other things in my life I'm doing, and as much as I love being here, I'm losing time for those things. Like I said, it's a long time to do a video. The garden videos will continue haphazardly as they have. However, you know, those go in and out according to season, so it's no big deal there. When my son gets his crates, we will continue to still do those, because I know a lot of people enjoy those as well. I'm keeping an eye on what you guys watch. I am. But in the meantime, I am going to go and finish my face, and I will be back. So this is our final look without the glasses, so you can see it all pretty before I put big silver thing in front of my face. We are going to work on getting these repaired or replaced. It's one of the reasons why things like hair. One of the things why having to put so much into makeup is kind of a issue right now. Expensive. It is borderline the bright pale blue things we used to see in the 60s and 70s. But I don't recall that having much depth or dimension, and hopefully this does. So, but I did want to do something blue, not quite so dark. I would have to say these are best for the Cleona metallics are best for when you want something that's in your face, because they definitely come up really nicely. And most of those colors are very dark. Even the lighter blue ends up being not so light. I mean, it's light, but you know what I'm saying. It's there. But to get back to what we were talking about very quickly, I do enjoy doing the channel, which is why I am trying to find ways to keep it going. But right now, there are just things that I have to pay more attention to, so we do have to cut back. I do appreciate all of you, and I appreciate the fact that you're here. I am not trying to... I'm complaining a little bit. Let's just admit that I am complaining a little bit, but I'm not trying to make a big deal out of it. It's just that if you're not getting any kind of payment, and you're already in a situation where money is a little tight, then continuing something that's costing you can be a lot harder to do. So reducing it 1 video a week should help a little bit. That'll let me get more time for some other things that I'm doing, at least one of which I'm being paid for, so really need to find the time to do that. And you know, hopefully things will just eventually get better, and I will be able to go back to 4 days a week, because I really do enjoy doing this. I mean, I really do, or I wouldn't be doing it at all. I'm not one of those people who sits there and tortures himself with doing this something because you hate it. I have to be home with my son anyway, so I must be doing things I enjoy to do, right? Anyway, all of that said, I hope you enjoyed what you've seen, and that if you're not subscribed, you will subscribe to the channel. If you do subscribe, hit the notification bell. I'm going to be uploading Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And we have bonus videos. Hopefully my son's loot crate will be on its way soon. Of course, we have the garden videos coming up once or twice a week now, so... We do occasionally have, or will have, unboxings of indie brands that aren't on my 2019 list and all of that stuff. So there are occasionally bonus videos that you're going to want to know about. So make sure the bell is rung. Yeah, hey. And if you're part of my notification squad, you will want to check your bell and your subscription to make sure they're both still active. I am noticing problems with the bell a little less. Not completely gone, but definitely a little less. It's more intermittent now. They seem to be finally evening out a bit. Hopefully they'll eventually fix it completely. But until then, do check your bell and make sure that it is rung, so that you know when those bonus videos that we've just discussed will come up. If you choose not to subscribe, well, we would be sad and disappointed, but we would also understand. As I mentioned earlier, I realize I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but you're always welcome to come back and visit us again. We love having company here. And if you do come back again, don't forget to bring your cup of tea, hot or cold. I'm going to go ahead and finish this up. There's not going to be any change in flavor. And then we're going to go ahead and go. Okay, not quite finished it up, but man, is that good. It's very refreshing. You all have a great day.